Hello and welcome to InFocus with me, Curtis Hinton. We are back with a special edition of InFocus and we are going back and turning our attentions to Pakistan once again. Earlier this week, I spoke to Sulfi Bukhari about what was going on in Islamabad at the moment. And today I am joined by Ahmad Farhad, who is in Pakistan at the moment on the ground and has been involved in these protests. Ahmad, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Firstly, how are you? How are things at the moment in Pakistan?
I'm fine, and still there is a confusion on the ground and uh, on government level that they are not willing to admit the casualties, and they're not ready to admit that dilemma and that bloodshed and that massacre. uh, and the people from the government are just mocking at this incident, and there is no such serious move to fathom out the real and the actual story behind that night, 26th November. So and on the other hand, the PTI the PTI leadership is also confused, and they don't know that how to respond to that massacre, and how to respond to the queries of their workers, and how to tackle this situation. And particularly they are under the criticism, and they are being criticized for not being on the ground with their workers, particularly when it comes to their leadership and the mainstream leadership. So and the media is still playing a dirty game, and they don't show the real picture and the actual picture of the ground. And only there's international media which is somehow trying to come to know the actual and the real picture of the incident. And today might you have gone through some international reports by independent Urdu or BBC, that particularly independent Urdu, they reported today about the casualties, and they got to in touch with some sources, hospital sources, and they quoted that there are more than 5 casualties in polyclinic hospital, and there were more than 7 casualties in PIMS hospital, and both hospitals are quite near to blue area, the main point of massacre. And right, you can say that about 1.5 kilometer away from the blue area. So now there are two international media outlets who have reported about this incident, and who have admitted their casualties, and who have raised questions. And after that, there is a little bit movement in Pakistani media too, and few other prominent journalists have raised questions about this incident and this massacre. And the situation is a bit changed and bit different now in Pakistan. And I think that in coming days, more people will come up, and they will start speaking about this incident, and they will be trying to fathom out the truth. And I think the coming days are tough for the government,
Yeah.
and then they will be held accountable for too many things.
Well, you've touched on a few things there. Over here, there's been conflicting stories, whether there's been tens of casualties or hundreds of casualties. Obviously, I know you don't know the exact numbers. You wouldn't know the exact numbers. But is it more in the hundreds after what happened on the 26th?
You know, as far as myself is concerned, as I am one of the witnesses, and I was on the ground, from the night of 25th November to the night of 26th November.
Yeah.
I think the casualties, 12 casualties are confirmed, so far 12 casualties are confirmed. But what are my fears? I think the number is in between 20 and 50.
Wow.
Okay.
So significantly higher
Uh,
than what's being
yes,
reported
it
or
is.
confirmed so far.
It is. Yes, it is my estimate that it might be between 20 and 50, and even it can go up to 50 till 100. So until there are more than 500 people are missing. More than 500 people are missing, so you cannot say anything about their status, whether they are dead, whether they are in police custody, and whether they are missing or they are in some hideout. So you cannot say anything about that until unless you come to know the exact number of the people who are
Yeah.
missing, and then you will be in position to to differentiate between the martyrs and the missing and the arrested.
So on the 26th, as I said, I had the opportunity to speak to Zolfi Bakari, obviously a senior member of the PTI. He was fearful of exactly what happened. He said he is worried that this evening, meaning the 26th, that they're going to turn the lights out and just open fire. And that's exactly what it did. I mean, I know you were on the ground and I know it must be hard to relive it, but just talk us through what happened on the 26th, on that evening, what happened on the ground.
See, I was on the ground, and it was the time about 8:50 p.m. at night when they opened fire, straight fire, on the protesters. And I was just, about 300 yards away from the D choke, the main, the center point of the blue area, and where the
And sorry to cut
protesters
in
were,
there. So those who opened fire, was it the government? Was it the army? Was it the army under the government's request? Who was it?
well, there were security forces there, including army, rangers, and police. So it was, the operation was, carried out collectively, by security forces, by rangers, army, and police. So I always used the word security forces, not particularly one faction of the state, like
Yeah.
army, rangers, or police. So when they opened fire, I was just 300 yards away from the central point, D choke. So then I saw a boy, who got bullet on his back in front of my eyes. Then people took him to the nearby hospital, and I just followed them, and went there. And then all of a sudden, there was complete, light, cut off, and there was the complete, blackout in the area. And what was there, just sounds of bullets, and tear gases, and there were hue and cry everywhere. And then I uh, somehow I managed to leave that area after 40 or 50 minutes. But there was totally blackout, so I was unable to witness or see anything. Just the people crawling and crying, and trying to get away and trying to flee.
Yeah.
So rest, they I think they took more than 3 hours to carry out that operation, or to complete that operation. So I don't know about rest of 3 hours, what happened there. So that's the main story, that what happened in those 3 hours. How did they kill people? How did they, scatter people? How they, managed to, control the crowd? So that's a long story.
So we saw earlier, before the 26th, the Interior Minister came out and said it would take the Rangers 5 minutes to come in and clear the area. Is that essentially what they did? They came in and they just shot freely?
Uh, yes, yes, they cleared everything, and there is just a simple question that how an unarmed person can face bullets and can face heavy shelling and such brutality and such animalistic way of handling the protesters and people and your own people. So thus yes, when if when, in terms of um, in terms of the status of the operation, yes, it was successful. Okay, so yes, it was a successful operation, but at the cost of lives, at the cost of destruction, at the cost of miseries.
So what next? What next for PTI? I mean, where do things stand at the moment in Pakistan with democracy? Because clearly the freedom of speech, the democratic right and human rights of the Pakistani citizens have been breached substantially. Are you hoping for a US or a UK or another foreign power to come in and lay down the law to the current government to give you back those rights that have been taken away from you?
It depends, on the uh, strategies of PTI leadership, that how party, takes it to international level and how they bring it, into the notice of international community, international court of justice, international media, and international powers. So this is up to them. So we will have to see that how do they tackle it internationally and how do they, um, uh, go ahead to get the international the favor of international community and international powers and international political international political figures and international arena. So I think with every every passing day, I think people will come to know about what actually happened that night, and about the actual figures of and the numbers of casualties, and then international. I am hopeful that international community, international media, and international powers will take notice of it, and they will talk about it, and they will try to make Pakistani government accountable.
The PTI protesters remained peaceful entirely throughout the whole process. On November 24th, did you manage to see the footage from Washington, from Italy, from Spain, from London? And I mean, as a PTI member, that must have been so nice to see.
Yes, it was a great, show of power and sport by the, PTA supporters all over the world, and it had a great impact as well. So, this is the main power of PTI. This is the main, you can call it, the power engine of PTI. Overseas PTI are very strong and they are very loyal and they are very capable of, you are capable of gathering people and capable of show their power outside the country and put some pressure on the government. So people's power and people's show of power is the main key behind PTI's momentum.
I'm conscious of your time, but I've got one final question for you. You are obviously a poet, a journalist with a platform already. Why is the PTI cause so close to your heart? Why are you fighting for it?
My principal stance is very clear. I don't fight for PTI or I don't fight for Imran Khan or Imran Khan's release. My fight is for the free judiciary, the free parliament, the rule of law,
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing the story of what happened on the 26th.
Thank you. Thanks for
Take
your
care.
time. Thank you.
Well, you've heard from Ahmad Farhad himself. It's not been what everyone has been reporting in Pakistan. He was there on the night of the 26th of November. We've got to keep an eye on what's going on around the world and make sure human rights remain protected. This has been Curtis Hinton on InFocus on Q's News.